welcome to District Dialogues. My name is Marvin Arrington Jr. I am the Vice Chair of the Fulton County Commission. I represent District 5 in Fulton County. District 5 includes the cities of East Point, South Fulton, College Park, City of Atlanta, and also parts of Union City. In today's segment, or in this segment, we will discuss Fulton County's election updates, property tax assessments, economic development, and a nonprofit that is truly making a difference in our community. My guests today are Dick Anderson, County Manager for Fulton County Government, Bridget Bailey, the Director of Customer Experience and Solutions for Fulton County Government, Dwight Robinson, the Chief Appraiser of the Tax Assessor's Office of Fulton County, and Samir Abdullah, Deputy Director of Select Fulton. Lastly, Keith Lewis, the founder of I Am a Father First. Our first guest is Dick Anderson, Fulton County's County Manager, and Bridget Bailey, Director of Customer Experience and Solutions, to share election updates for Fulton County.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks, sir. We're glad to be here and give a quick update on elections. I'll start, and then Bridget will give some details. But first of all, I think none of us were happy, much less satisfied with the election process in June. So we are fully committed to a step function improvement in August, and then obviously for November. What we have done is formed a senior management team. So it includes Bridget Bailey, who will speak in a moment, but also our Chief Operating Officer, our Chief Financial Officer, our attorney for the county, our CIO, our Director of Facilities. So this is really a full team effort aimed at two things. One was address the known problems that occurred in June, and then two is create a detailed plan for both August as well as for the fall. And on the known problems, I'm pleased to say that I think many of those have been addressed successfully. So our absentee process, as an example, was an Achilles heel in the June election. We got behind and never caught up. We now, I think, have got that working well. We've processed 55,000 or so ballot applications. We have 25,000 ballots that we've already received back. So that's good news, and we are not behind. We're also planning for a portal that will enable folks to get their ballots in an automated and much more seamless way than previously, as well as the state is planning a portal. So we kind of have in a number of these things a plan A and a plan B. Number of locations was an issue in the first election, and we've gone from, again, many times these constraints were due to COVID, but we've gone from 5 locations to now 20 locations, and one of those being the penultimate location at State Farm Arena, where we have over 100 machines in place and processing voters on a daily basis. We have had close to 13,000 folks vote in our locations thus far, and have experienced no significant lines and no hiccups. So I think that's working well. And part of that, in terms of the known problems, was really pre-planning against all of the details that go into setting up one of these sites. So we have done an enormous amount of pre-planning on these 20 sites, looking at everything from power requirements to the rooms themselves, the flow within the rooms, and the number of machines. And I can say that I've been to, I think, all the sites now except for 2 or 3. Our deputy COO for facilities and IT has been to every one of the sites with a team of folks. And that attention to detail has really shown its value as we have gotten into this. And then the last thing that I'll say is just creating a detailed plan. I think we've worked well with colleagues, and Dwight Robinson, who you'll hear from later, is one of those in the tax process where we did this a couple of years ago. And I think this will work successfully this time as well, where we really have the principal leading the effort as Dwight did on taxes. We have Rick Barron leading it on voting, but we have an entire team working with them to ensure that no stone goes unturned and no resource is denied, financial, human, or otherwise, to make this a success. And part of that really understanding of what's required is creating a highly detailed plan. So Bridget can also speak to this and has done yeoman's work in helping us create that plan for what will be in the neighborhood of 175 locations for the August runoff, and then most likely in the 200 to 225 locations for the November election. So you can imagine, Mr. Vice Chair, all of the details that go into that. But I think getting it down to that level is really what's going to make the difference between November versus what we experienced in June. So I'll stop there in terms of my update, and then again, Bridget can provide some more detail.
Yeah, Bridget, you're a member of the county manager's internal work team. Tell us what type of improvements you all have presented to the elections department.
Absolutely, Commissioner. Thanks for having me. We have been working extremely hard on the internal work group, and I'm proud to be a member of that team to be able to be a part of the solution. But we've been putting a lot of things in place, working closely with the elections department as we prepare for this August election. A lot of the things that we did were trying to address some of the problems that occurred in June. So one of those things was staffing, of course, as many people know, due to some outages as a result of the pandemic. So we have added additional staff to each of the polling sites. That's to include an additional poll clerk. That will include an election day technician that will be on site to administer and resolve any problems that may occur. And we've also added line managers as well. And those folks will actually be there to go up and down the line and make sure people are at the right precinct, that they don't have to stand in a line for a long period of time and only to find out maybe they're at the wrong location. We've put measures in place now where we've done some time and motion studies so we can almost calculate how long it should take a person to vote. And so we've added additional equipment at some of the sites to make sure that there's enough there for people to be able to get through the line and still observe social distancing. And that's important during this time as well. We have enhanced our poll worker training. We've added a customer service component to that. So our poll workers are currently going through that training right now. That's going to go on now through August 7th. So we have been able to enhance that piece of it. As Mr. Anderson mentioned, we have also increased the number of polling sites from June to August now, and then we'll also increase those in November as well. This time we also added in a dedicated call center. We have 32 people who are working in the elections department to be able to field calls. We wanted to add additional people to make sure that we had enough people to answer calls, to answer voters' questions. One of the big things that communications did, which was great, and I hope that everybody has received theirs, is we did a mailer to Fulton County households, letting them know and encouraging early voting for this August election and absentee voting, how to vote absentee, where to request your application. We are also doing, as Mr. Anderson mentioned, as we did during early voting, we're doing site visits to all 174 precincts. We want to check things like the parking, is it adequate? Is there a proper flow for voters to get in and out of the precinct? Is there room for overflow equipment if we needed to add overflow? We're making sure the electrical sockets are marked properly and that they're all tested. Our Deputy COO, Ellis Kirby, has been working on the electrical piece now, so we just want to make sure that everything is functioning properly as it should on election day so there are no problems. In addition to that, we are also working out with many of the sites a 3 a.m. opening on election day. And at that time, we'll have an election day technician and a poll official on site who will set up at 3 a.m. that morning. That gives us about a 3.5, 4-hour window to address any unforeseen problems that may occur. Any equipment issues, we'll be able to respond and be able to ensure that the polls are open timely. Another thing that we've done is we are overstocking the polls with supplies. Sometimes during the last election, some of the supplies ran short, so we are stocking it almost at 100% to make sure that those polling places have enough supplies, enough envelopes, enough paper, enough everything that they need to get through that entire day. And then, as Mr. Anderson mentioned, in November, we're expanding additional sites. We hope to go up to anywhere between 220 to 240 additional sites for November, which will allow people to spread out and be able to move through the lines quicker. We're looking at doing our online portal where people will be able to actually request their absentee ballot application via an online portal, in addition to a mobile application where voters will be able to find out all things elections on that mobile application. So we're excited about these opportunities. We're glad to be able to work with the elections department to put these improvements in place and think it'll really, really improve the voter experience.
Sounds like you guys have been really busy. I'm glad to hear all of the plans that are underway. I love the 3 a.m. check-in start time. My only question is, will there be a way for voters to leave an opinion? Will there be a Dropbox or some type of way that they can provide suggestions or recommendations?
We can certainly make that happen, Commissioner. That is a great suggestion. We can certainly make that happen.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I know that we will be in good hands after hearing all of those great plans. Dick, if you will, tell us how the partnership with the Hawks and State Farm is really beneficial for Fulton County residents.
Yes, sir, Mr. Vice Chair. I think this is one of the most phenomenal partnerships that has been offered up in some time between private entities and government. And if everyone doesn't know, Coach Pierce of the Hawks is a real leader among his colleagues in terms of social justice and all of the issues that really are presenting themselves. And this idea germinated, I believe, with Coach Pierce and then Steve Coonan, who's the CEO of the Hawks. And then they contacted Chairman Pitts. And literally within just a couple of days, we were visiting State Farm Arena, and I can tell you they just rolled out the red carpet. They said, look, any part of this arena you can use. The parking will be free. We can set up refreshments for your workers, and even better, perhaps, they offered 300 or so folks from their staff who are not currently engaged, obviously, in basketball operations to staff that facility. So we've taken advantage of all of the above. And I think what makes it so unique is obviously it's centrally located. It's served by MARTA, and MARTA opened back up the station that actually comes into the Hawks arena or State Farm Arena, so folks have an easy access to that place. There will be over 100 machines. I think we started with 130, and we're somewhere between 100 to 130 that will be available there. So it virtually guarantees no wait time. And it's also situated in a way where for handicap or disability access, it's on the level where you would come in off of MARTA or Park. And then if you want the experience of actually going down to the floor of the arena and voting where the Hawks play, you have that experience. In addition to all of that, one thing that probably won't be as obvious to the public is that is where we have consolidated now all of our pre-election day functions, like the receipt of absentee ballots, and then ultimately opening and tabulating those ballots. So because of the expanse of that arena and the ability to put everyone in one place, I think it gives us an even better opportunity to manage that process well. But I can't say enough, Mr. Vice Chair, for really their community mindedness and really seeing voting as the way to address many of the issues that all of us are struggling with. And again, I want to credit again Coach Pierce for his leadership and vision, and then all of our team for taking them up on this opportunity and making it happen.
It really makes a difference when you have true community partners like the Hawks, and we are very thankful to them for allowing us to allow Fulton County voters to vote at State Farm Arena, and certainly them making available 300 workers to help is just goes beyond, and we're very thankful to them.
Yes, sir.
Bridget, what should voters do as they get prepared to go to the polls, either for early voting, absentee ballots, or for election day?
Okay. Here are 3 things I always like to recommend for people to do. Make sure before you go, you always check your voter registration status. Sometimes things happen along and throughout the years, and you just want to make sure that you are an active voter on the voter roll. So you can always go to the Fulton County website or to the Secretary of State's website to check your voter registration status. Make sure that you're active. Verify your precinct. Make sure before you go that your precinct hasn't changed. Sometimes there are last-minute changes that are unforeseeable. and your precinct location may have changed. So one good thing to do is just double check before you walk out the house. Use that great cell phone and find out where your precinct is. I would say also to visit the Fulton County Registration and Elections Department website frequently. There they will provide any updates on anything that's happening with voting. All things voting and elections will be provided on their website, so it stays up to date. I always recommend that people will do that. And also don't forget to do your ID. We encourage early voting too, so please, if you can early vote, all that information is on Fulton County's website. Please check it, and you should have a great voter experience.
I know with you in charge of customer experience and customer relations that they will definitely have a great voting experience. It's written all over your face.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that. So if anyone has any further questions, please contact Fulton County Voter Registration and Elections Department. They can be reached at 404-612-7020, or you can always visit our website at www.fultoncountyga.gov. We'll be happy to help.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we can get as many people to vote early as possible so that election day will run a lot smoother. And certainly with all of the great work you all's team has put together along with the elections department, I'm sure Fulton County voters will be pleased. Well, Dick and Bridget, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for giving us that very informative election update. And we're going to get back to you.
Right.
Our next segment, we're going to bring in Mr. Dwight Robinson, who's the Chief Appraiser for Fulton County Board of Assessors. Under Georgia law, every property is assessed annually at fair market value. The Board of Assessors issues an annual notice of assessment for each property in Fulton County. So we wanted to bring Mr. Robinson on today to talk about the assessment process and how COVID-19 has affected this process.
Yes, good morning again, Vice Chair Arrington.
Good morning.
Good morning. We mailed our annual assessment notice back on June 19th. It went off without fanfare, unlike previous years. It was uneventful. The taxpayers need to know that the values that we set were set as of January 1st this year. So in terms of how COVID-19 affected the values for tax year 2020, it actually did not. We expect that in tax year 2021, it should have an effect, especially on some segments of our commercial values. Taxpayers received with their notice a brochure, an insert, Understanding Your Fulton County Property Assessment Notice. It was quite detailed. It went over the entire assessment notice and pointed to areas that taxpayers need to pay attention to. For example, that values are set as of the 1st of January, that they have 45 days from the date on the notice, that if they disagree with their assessment, they have the right and the opportunity to file an appeal. It tells them that this notice is not a tax bill. It's just to let them know what we think their fair market value is for tax year 2020.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. So given the pandemic, why wasn't the April 1st, 2020 Homestead application deadline extended?
The funny thing is that most years after we send assessment notices, we get a lot of questions about valuation. This year, most of our questions didn't have to do necessarily with valuation. It had to do with why wasn't the April 1st Homestead application deadline extended. That is something that is set in law, and neither the chief appraiser, the board of assessors, the board of commissioners have the authority to extend that deadline. And unfortunately, Governor Kemp's executive order did not extend that deadline. In a situation that we find ourselves in with COVID-19, the only individual who could have extended that deadline would have been the governor. He has emergency powers to do so, and he did not do that. So taxpayers still had an opportunity prior to April 1st to submit their appeals online, not appeals, their applications online or through the mail. They were not allowed for the final 2 weeks, because we were closed, to submit applications in person. Applications for Homestead are accepted from April 2nd of last year until April 1st of this year. Our offices were closed March 16th through April 1st. So of the 52 weeks that the taxpayers had the opportunity to apply in person, they were only denied that for the final 2 weeks. However, they had alternative means of submitting their application. I know you yourself, Commissioner Arrington, have gotten inquiries about, well, why didn't you extend the April 1st deadline? And unfortunately, neither you nor I nor Mr. Anderson or any member of the commission have the power or the authority to extend that deadline.
Well, thank you for clearing that up. That is certainly a question that we've gotten time and time again, and just something that's out of our power and our authority. Can you speak briefly about the appeal process?
Okay. Well, as I said prior, notices were mailed on June 19th of this year. They have 45 days if they disagree with our valuation of their property. They have 45 days from that day to appeal. The appeal window closes August 3. During those 45 days, we accept appeals by mail, online, or in person. We are discouraging in-person submittal of the appeals because we're living in pretty dangerous times, and we have a limited personnel. If you need to come in and speak to somebody, we are encouraging you to make an appointment. But filing an appeal is a very simple process. You have forms available on our website, fultonassessor.org, that allows you to submit an appeal online, or you can simply send in a letter telling us why you think your value is incorrect and allowing us a chance to review that. If during the review we disagree with you and we decide not to change the value, usually because we have not gotten enough documentation from the taxpayer, we will immediately forward your appeal to the boards of equalization or to a hearing officer or through arbitration. You have an opportunity to choose at the time you appeal any one of those 3 routes of appeal. Boards of equalization, which is by far the most popular, a hearing officer, which is limited to non-homesteaded properties, or arbitration, which is the least used method because it involves payment of some monies. And most people, you can appeal without paying any money. So if we disagree with you, your appeal is immediately forwarded to the boards of equalization if you chose that route. Or we might not necessarily agree with the value you think your property should be set at, and we might set it at a different value. In that case, we're going to send you another notice. This notice expires in 30 days, giving you an opportunity to either say, okay, I agree with your new assessment, or I do not agree and I wish to now go on to the boards of equalization. Once you go to the boards of equalization or to the hearing officer or to arbitration, if you still disagree with the value on your property, you now have the opportunity to go to that final step, which is the Superior Court. That is basically, in a nutshell, the appeals process.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. As always, you make it simple enough for even me to understand.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate that because people just don't understand these things, and as you can break it down and make it simple for them, then that certainly helps. I know people can find out more information at your website, fultonassessor.org. I just want to thank you for all of your great work that you and your team are doing, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Fulton County is a positive, diverse community with a thriving economy, safe neighborhoods, healthy residents, and a rich quality of life that all people can enjoy. It is served by a county government that is recognized for being innovative, effective, efficient, and trustworthy. I am proud co-chair for one of 6 strategic priority areas. All people have economic opportunities. Deputy Director Samir Abdullah is here to tell us how Select Fulton plays a part in economic development. Welcome to the show, Samir.
And thank you for having me, Commissioner.
Awesome. So tell us, what is Select Fulton and what work do you do in Fulton County?
Sure. Well, you kicked it off right by saying this county is innovative. We don't just have an economic development team. We don't just have a workforce development team. We've integrated our entire economic and workforce development system. So Select Fulton is the brand initiative to carry out those services, and it's actually comprised of 3 separate organizations. One is the Development Authority of Fulton County, which has a separate board and governance structure, and they really work with the real estate community and developers to help identify great locations for buildings to come out of the ground for us to help build and develop. We also use the Development Authority to offer some type of tax incentives for large capital projects that bring in large CapEx, large amount of jobs, and great investment into this community. The second team is our economic development team. We really work on promoting and marketing Fulton County as a great place to do business. The other piece that team works on is with our companies here in Fulton County, not only those who are interested in locating here, but our existing companies that are located in our 15 great cities here in Fulton County. And then our last leg that we stand on is our WorkSource Fulton division. It's our WIOA federal workforce grant. They work with individual citizens to either do upskilling or unemployed individuals to help them identify what that next career position is going to be, but also working with companies to make sure they have the talent pipeline necessary to be successful. So what you'll find in Select Fulton is we can help get the building out of the ground, identify a company to go into that building, and then make sure we've got the right workforce and trained, skilled individuals to make sure that company can be successful. It's a wildly unique model and something that's not reflected in the region. So very proud to be a part of the team.
Awesome. So what makes Fulton County a great place to invest and work?
Sure. I've been with the county. I've been living in Fulton County my whole life, but with Fulton County for 3 years. And one of the things we try to think about is how can we best well position ourselves? When companies come into markets, they're thinking about metro brands, Metro Atlanta, Metro DC, and others. We try to look at the data to say, well, what relationship does Fulton County have to the metro region? And when we look at the data, the numbers are startling. Not just the fact that we're home to 15 distinct cities, including the city of Atlanta. But if you look at the 29 county metro region, we represent 1 in 3 jobs, 40% of all wages that are generated in that 29 county metro region. So as we're speaking to companies large and small, what we tell them is Fulton County is a great place to invest, not only for the diverse amenities that we have in the community from both housing and real estate, both on the workforce side in terms of the people, the different cultural diversities, but that we have that access, right? Not only to the talent base, but to your clientele, to the tools that you would need to be successful as a company, again, large and small. And that's what makes, I think, Fulton County somewhat unique in this region.
Awesome. How has Select Fulton responded to this pandemic, the COVID-19 crisis?
Sure. I think like many other agencies and departments, we've had to rapidly move online. I think one of the benefits that we've had at Select Fulton is we don't work in a silo. We are always in constant communication and partnership with our larger partners, our state and regional entities, whether that's the state of Georgia, utilities, or smaller partners, our cities, our CIDs, and others. And so virtually connecting and making sure, as you know, Fulton County is a large territory to cover. We've been somewhat ahead of the game and able to continue that conversation and continue the pipeline of companies that are coming here. On the workforce side of things, same kind of component. We work with all the different regional Metro Atlanta workforce boards. There's our website that we point everyone to in the Metro region called atlworks.org, and that is the feeder for individuals trying to enter into the workforce system. So you don't have to go to Gwinnett's website or Fulton website, Clayton County's website. You can go to atlworks.org and it'll help to orient you to the right workforce delivery agent. We do have our provider, ResCare, who's working virtually and mobily. We are doing appointments, our meetings by appointments only in our South Fulton Career Center. And then again, most of our services, depending on the school and the institution and the coursework that individuals are taking right now during training. Some of that is able to move online, but we're working with our educational provider to try to pivot some of that coursework if they have to meet in person to make sure that we can deploy that safely. So we really had to pivot like many other organizations. Some of it we've been ahead of the game, but some of it have been challenging.
Okay, so if I'm a small business owner in Fulton County, or I'm just starting a new small business, where can I find resources to help me grow my business?
Right, and I think you've hit on it, right? You should never open a business without talking to someone else. And there are so many different resources, both on the consulting side to the financial side, that are available to you at free. There are many different organizations that all start with an S, whether it's the Small Business Administration, the SBA. There's others like SBDC, the Small Business Development Centers. There are many different institutions, ATDC and others, that can help and assist you on all processes of the business process of developing your business plan, how to go and access capital, how to market your plan. And you've actually been very catalytic in helping to drive some of those efforts. Last year, if you remember, we held the 2019 Empowering Entrepreneurs Conference. We had 300 individuals, both with new business and existing businesses, that came for 6 different work sessions. We had a keynote speaker to talk about those different issues. How do you access capital? We brought out banking partners. Or how do you market yourself? We brought in LinkedIn professionals. There's also the library. The library has the Libby tool, which is a great professional resource for you to be able to access and do professional development, whether it's business writing and others. Definitely go and contact not just your regular bank, but the community banks that exist out there. They all have funding set aside for community investments. Go and access a co-working space. Take a small spot in a co-working space. Again, knowledge share is kind of the biggest key, I think, to a lot of companies and their success. Don't operate in a silo, and make sure that you go out there and reach. And again, reach out to us at Select Fulton County and we can be a resource as well to help point you in the right position.
Thanks, Amir, for being on the show, but for all the great work you do every day on behalf of the residents of Fulton County.
We appreciate your support, Commissioner.
Thank you. You know, it truly takes a village to care for our community. I'm very excited to hear about our next guest, Mr. Keith Lewis, the founder of I Am a Father First, and how he is making a difference in our community. Welcome to the show, Keith.
Thank you, Commissioner. How you doing? Excuse my voice. Thank you very much.
Glad to have you on. It truly takes a village to care for our community. We're excited to hear how Keith Lewis, the founder of I Am a Father First, is making a difference. Keith, tell us, what is the goal and the mission of I Am a Father First?
Well, Commissioner, the goal is to reduce the amount of fatherless homes in our communities. What I have found out from being a divorced father, it takes a village to raise a child, whether that parent is co-parenting or married. But our goal is to reduce the amount of fatherless homes through training, workshops, curriculums, mentoring, creating a brotherhood for the men as well as resources for the children so we can bridge the gap that's disconnected the families.
That is really great work.
Thank you.
What would you say is your biggest challenge to trying to get those goals accomplished?
I would say just honesty. As I'm up here in Newark, you know, I'm talking to strangers every day. You know, I just left Long Beach in LA, and then now I'm here in Newark. And of course, I'm always in Atlanta doing stuff on the West Side. And man, people need help, but they don't know how to be honest because so many people give them lies. So the thing is my biggest challenge is getting people to trust me as a new face in the community, having the access and the type of resources that I have, and being able to do the things that, you know, God has led me to be able to do in our people's lives. The biggest challenge is gaining the trust of the people to know that the words are accurate.
I can see how that could cause problems for you. Tell us about the programs that you already have underway and the impact that they've had on the community.
Well, I'm a Father First was founded in March of 2017. So from its inception, we focused on a cut above, which is our haircut, grooming, hygiene program. We've cut over 3,000 heads in that 3 years. That focus is self-esteem, you know, etiquette, things of that nature. Most of our boys are young Black boys. Their hair is unkempt, and you know they don't know how to even cut it. It's kind of cool to leave it nappy right now. So our thing is we try to teach them how to moisturize that thing, Marv. You feel me? They got to put some moisturizer and pull their pants up. So that's one program, a cut above. And then you got Father First Youth Sports. We play football over at Best Academy, man. Thank you to APS and Dr. Maria Karstoffen, who was over there. They allowed us, I think we were the only youth team to play on the football field that was run by the city because, you know, they knew we had it together over there. We had a very organized football program. The kids played on turf. They didn't have to pay $500 to play in a competitive league. You know, they paid something, but it was very minimal compared to other teams. And then after the pandemic, then lastly, we have King Talk. That's our 60-minute enrichment conversation that we have once a month with the boys. But then we flipped during the pandemic and started feeding. And when that flip happened, Marv, that's when it got crazy. You know, we started Meals of Love. And man, it's like, you know, if you're in the music world or whatever, it's like when you've been working for 15 years trying to get someone to care about your talent or your gift. And then you finally get it accepted and you get it funded and bagged. So Meals of Love has fed over 120,000 families, 120,000 individuals, 120,000 meals since I think March 15th was my first date. I started out of my car and went and got a funder who we now have 4 vehicles that are moving through the city, baby. They moving through the city right now. They need to drop them off to you, Mark. So wherever y'all at, Dorsey and Commissioner and James, we need to drop y'all off some Meals of Love. So just drop the address in the chat and we're going to bring you a nice meal of love. Tell us your favorite cuisine and we got you. So that's why Dr. Karstoffen connected us with our funder, because we're not giving these kids some bull. I'm giving kids food that I would eat, that my kids would eat. These babies getting salmon, they getting jasmine and curry rice, they getting shrimp, teriyaki sauce, and then their dinners are provided by Chef Kevin Gillespie from Top Chef Bravo. This guy's a 10-year national brand and stuff, and he's a white guy. He's come in, him and our funder, Jeff Sprecher, and they bridged the gap. They bridged the gap. So when you ask me what is my biggest hurdle, it was bridging the divide. But now it's so connected. To be honest with you, Commissioner, it's just a matter of our people accepting what we now have access to.
Well, you know, that has been a continuing problem, right? You know, Harriet Tubman said she could have saved more slaves had they just known they were slaves.
Right.
So,
hey, and I watched Harriet Tubman when I went to Denver a couple weeks ago, man. They had me fired up. I was on the plane ready to shake that thing up.
She made some great sacrifices for our nation.
And that's all it is about for me. It's about making humble personal sacrifices, selfless acts. You know, when I think about all the stuff we did with no money, Commissioner, when I think about how many people I was able to feed and help before anybody gave me a dime, when people told me to stop doing what I was doing, when people told me I couldn't get a job because I'm an ex-offender, I'm a felon myself, when doors were constantly shut in front of my face, even though I was sharper than most of the peers that held the positions that I sought, now I have the opportunity to pay my own way. So I'm very excited to be able to feed the whole city of Atlanta, the whole county of Fulton, and span this thing across the nation along with this new norm curriculum.
Well, you have truly been a blessing. See all the work that you're doing with I'm a Father First, and the Meals of Love. I believe you were feeding, what, 220 families 3 times a day?
Yeah, well, we're doing 2, and now we've scaled back to 1, just dinner since school is about to start. As Dorsha was speaking about the virtual school, the babies go back next week, technically, right? So what we're about to have to pivot again to, Commissioner, because 1, our funding was cut. We lost a tremendous amount of funding by losing the lunch contract. Now the dinners are provided by Cold Beer ATL, which is fine. We're contracted to do the delivery. You know, myself as well as my staff are contracted through our funder, so he's been gracious. You know, we're so grateful for Jeff and Kelly. You know, they keep the blessings rolling, sir, and without them, we can't keep this machine rolling at the level that it is. But at this point, we need the community and the county to partner with us. We need contracts for our men. I'm having to lay off some of the workers that I provided employment for. And then in our workforce development program, I was paying our teams to actually do meal prep and container packaging and loading up of the trucks. And now with him taking that lunch contract away from us due to APS opening back up, now we're only delivering and we're only doing that. You only have to do that 2-3 hours. So now you have my staff who's being impacted with the workforce. And then I think they said stimulus checks got cut off. So whatever that's about, whoever gets those, they now are no longer able to depend on those. So the problem actually, when you speak from there, it's actually fundraising, it's contracts, it's access to government bids so we can be able to employ our people. Because right now, Marv, I'm hiring people that are homeless. I'm hiring people that are literally in transitional residency. And I'm hiring people that are about to go back to school with their children next Monday. Man, we need some help, Marvin.
Well, let's certainly get the word out. Tell the community how can they connect with I'm a Father First so that the community can support you.
I'mAFatherFirst.org. Take out the apostrophe. I am a father, and then first is F1RST.org. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of that stuff. I'm a Father First. And you can also contact us at mealsofloveatl.com or on V103 website.
All right. Well, thank you, Brother Keith. Again, we appreciate all the work that you, Jermaine, I'm a Father First team are doing. It's truly a blessing to have you doing that work, brother.
Hey, forever I love Atlanta. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Keith, for being on the show. the village where I'm a father first. Thanks to everyone. Thank you all.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, sir. Peace and blessings.
Thank you. And thanks to everyone for watching our show. This is District Dialogues. Please stay updated on Fulton County News via our website. And please make sure you wear your mask and wash your hands frequently.